Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Total Wreck Ranch. We have been absent from videos, vlogging, Facebook posts, all kinds of things. But we have been present here, fixing some things, some systems. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. So we're early in our journey, I will say. We bought a piece of property that was in some rough condition, and by rough I mean, you know, not maintained well, as far as growth, overgrowth. I mean, you can see that we're still battling some of that every year, but your first year or so is really about putting your things in place. First of all, you set some goals, and this is what you want to do. And then you don't have the right equipment, you don't have the materials, you don't have the funds, you don't have the time. One of those things comes up all the time. So it's a slow process, and I think in our brains it's not. And then we get a little overwhelmed because we're not meeting our goals. So what we did meet goals on was growing our livestock, right? Well, starting out with 3 goats to now we're at 16 is a big adjustment. And, you know, pinning up 3 goats and keeping them happy and fed and healthy is one thing. And then as you expand or they grow, you have to build a bigger pen, or you have to provide a second paddock for them to be in. Figure out how to manage your breeding seasons, vaccinations, milking, all the things that go along with that. And I think that is where we're at now, is how are we managing each one of our livestock. So it's a journey. And we have to, I'm sorry, the sun's getting really bright in my eyeballs. So you have to adjust to the season that you're in. And I think that's what we're learning right now, is you can set a goal and you can smash it. And then that goal is going to shift and change. It's going to grow. It's going to be what you think you want it to be. And then you'll always get to the next step, right? And I'm just going to use the goats as an example. So initially when we got goats, it was really for fun. That was me. That was all me. It turned out not to be so fun because my dogs were not cooperative with the goats. We had goat injuries. We had goats escaping fences. It seems so easy, right? You just put up a fence. Well, I think we picked the worst animal to do that with, to start out with. Now, while the goats are easy now, over the last 3 years of us growing and understanding all that is required, they're not that easy. It's much easier to start out with something with the knowledge. But we don't all have that. We didn't all grow up in an ag community or an agriculture environment. I grew up in the city. Chris grew up working on farms, but more with cows, not with goats. But the market for goats has grown exponentially. For one, they're great landscapers, right? And 2, a lot of people eat goat meat. We don't at this moment. Will we someday? Maybe we will. We're going to try to do it. I know people do it. It's just something that we haven't done. So no judgment either way. I think you have to use your resources in the most appropriate way. My goal with the goats became milking. Am I milking yet? No, 3 years in, I'm still not milking. I need a stanchion. We got to build a stanchion. We got to secure the barn a little better, so that you have a good place to go do that, a good environment. We need some power things that have to happen for keeping milk cool and preserving and just being clean about it, so that you have the best product, right? I tend to be that person that has a vision and then jumps off into it. I do. That's who I've been my whole life. I don't know if there's anybody else out there like me, but I'm sure that there is. So if you're thinking about doing this, my goal is to just help you get past some of the things that we got past. So if you're thinking about goats, build bigger than you think you need to build. Build a fence more secure than you think you need. Goats get their heads stuck in cattle panel all the time. Are there ways to prevent it? Yes. You can tie a PVC pipe to their horns so they can't fit through. In doing that, you also have to be able to touch the goats. Well, in our first 3 years of doing goats, we were both working. There wasn't a lot of time to handle the goats and make them our friends, so to speak. We also had a bad Billy. He was a great herd sire. He protected the herd to a fault, but he became very rough around us, and we have a lot of small grandchildren, and we made the decision to put him down and eliminate the fear factor. I have learned in my 6 years of being out here doing what we're doing that you don't want bad animals. You can't. It's not safe. It's not fun. And sometimes they're just not nice, right? Now, our herd sire now is not friendly, but he is nice. He doesn't approach us in a negative way. I don't worry about the kids going in there. Listen, during breeding season, I don't let anybody in there. I don't even like to go in there because a full-on big old goat can tear you up. So learning all of those pieces in advance, right, is a very important thing. I didn't have mentors when we started doing this. I had people who had friendly goats. I bought some goats from them. And then I didn't have friendly goats. So, cows, same. We got a bull. That was our first cattle on the property, was a sweet bull that some friends of ours hand raised. He was very friendly, but the bottom line is he's a bull. And he's going to be, I think when we sold him, he was about 1,300 pounds. That's like a Volkswagen running into you. So you don't want some playful bull running up to you at 1,300 pounds saying, pet me, pet me, pet me. Or what are you doing today? Nudging you into trees as you're building a fence to try to prevent him from going to town. So, again, we didn't put him down, but we sold him off to a bigger farm, a place that could contain him better with more cows and just a happier life. So I'm super happy that we did that. What we have now is a very calm bull who is nice, but not friendly. He doesn't want you to pet him and love on him. He respects that you bring the food. He respects the space between you for now. It may change, but he is I think he's pushing 3 years old, and we have not had an escape issue. He doesn't come and approach us in a hostile manner or a playful manner. So these are the things that you have to look at when you're starting out. So that's just for anybody who's starting who doesn't have the experience, you can do this. But I'm just giving you some tips on how to avoid some of the troubles that we had. Chickens, super easy, right? But when you start feeding an animal and it starts feeding you, and then a predator comes along, and it's not that we didn't secure our coop. We got busy. We got lazy. We got, lazy might be a bad word, complacent, right? That everything was fine. So there were nights that we didn't lock chickens up, or became weeks that we didn't lock chickens up. We just let them go to roost on their own, left the door open, did the things. We lost an entire flock. And while, like, you can go, oh, okay, well, that's no big deal. It is a big deal because you're investing your time and energy into something and you want to provide the best protection against your loss. The loss of life is one thing, and I have very much learned that there is a circle of life that we have to respect and understand. You can't save everything, no matter how much you try. But I'm gonna have to put my hair up. It's getting hot out here, and it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. I am doing some passive avoidance this morning on the farm. I like to try to get out in the morning before it gets too hot, and this morning I'm just not feeling it. So I know I will work through the day and get everything done, so I'm not super worried about that. But it's going to be hot and miserable when I go do it. But I felt like this was important for me too. I do these vlogs for myself. It's my own documentary of what we're going through, what we've been through, and how we've overcome some of the challenges. So while I do it for educational purposes as well, I also do it for my own look back. Okay. Anyway. Always got to chime in. So my point is this, is that we have spent this year, 2023, learning how to enjoy the farm again. When it gets overwhelming, it's not fun. It's exhausting, and it feels so overwhelming, like you're just out of control, and you are. So getting back control by adjusting pins and integrating birds. Let me just say this, if you integrate chickens, there's a reason why there's a pecking order. They are brutal. So when we brought in new flocks, we literally separated them all with the intention of eventually integrating them back together, which didn't happen over a couple years, just because of our time, constraints that we had with working and all the things going on in the world around us. New grandbabies, sick people, just viruses, pandemics, shifts your focus, okay? So this year we have been learning how to adjust the farm to us. Instead of us working around the farm is becoming our friend, where it's working around us now. I'll say this, growing up in the city, I had a different perspective on animal health and safety and blah, 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 right? So I coddled my dogs. I pampered them. If I had a cat, I pampered it. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you get out here in the raw Mother Nature, animals do not give a flying flip about your emotions. They just don't. Learning to not project my own feelings onto an animal. And that doesn't mean I don't care about them or for them. It means that I don't focus on their happiness more than my own, which is what I was doing. So an animal would get injured, I would jump through hoops to save it. Vet bills, all the things. No chickens or anything like that. Like, I didn't do that. But I never want to lose an animal, because it makes me feel like I didn't do my part to protect the animal. But sometimes you cannot control every single piece of it. And that has been what I've learned over the last 2 years, is there are things that are out of my control. I'm not a control freak. I don't consider myself a control freak. I don't even like having control. I don't want to be in control. But I do want to control the chaos that comes with the farm. So this year has been super productive on the animal front. We've done a ton of work in securing and giving more space at the same time for the animals to live their best life, right? Now, the end result for many of the animals is the freezer, is processing. You don't keep livestock for fun. You just don't do that. You're going to do it for food and for profit. Now, I'm not saying profit above loss, but some sort of return on your money and your investment. So whether that's selling them off at auction, putting them in the freezer, selling them live at a personal livestock sale, which we're going to be starting next year, where we'll literally be hosting a livestock sale on site. Not an auction, a sale. Like, this is what we have, take your pick. So that's how the goals change. That's how the perspective changes, and that's how you grow. So I want to encourage you, if you're starting out, and this is a goal that you'd like to have. I think a lot of people are shifting to a more laid back, sustainable life, to whatever ability they can do, whether it is preserving and canning, stocking your fridge from the grocery store, your freezers, or if it is learning how to grow your own food and manage that and the chaos that can come with that. So that's the point of this video, is literally encouragement, but also some vital lessons. And, you know, don't think small. You have to think beyond what your goal is. So, and I'm going to go back to the goats. Starting out with 3 goats for fun has now landed us to 16 goats, kids, managing the babies, managing the weather, the babies in the weather. You can't manage the weather, but managing the conditions in which you're growing those things in. And then what are you going to do with them? You don't want to just keep having kids, and I don't mean human kids, babies, and not make them some sort of product for your space, right? So the goal is to basically monetize the farm, get it to start generating. It's not just for fun. I don't have an outside job anymore, thankfully, and I'm super blessed for that. But if I can bring money back to the farm, whether it's a nest egg for us for the future, or it's food security, or it's possibly improvements or things like that, where you need to make an improvement, that's now my job. My job is to manage the farm and do good stewardship, okay? So that, I would say that, if I could say one thing, start out with a huge goal, right? That I'm going to monetize the farm, and it's going to be, don't expect to get there in a minute. You've got to learn the process. You've got to learn, what vaccines do I give? What nutrition do I need to give? What happens in a drought? What happens in a freeze? All the things that have happened over the last 3 years for us, I never anticipated or thought about. I just said, you know, the animals eat grass, they need fresh water, and clean environment, and some food occasionally. Like, there's all these things out there where you hear, don't feed your goats grain, and so you stop, and then you lose all your babies because you changed your feeding schedule, and your moms can't sustain. So it's balance. And then how about your relationship with your partner? If you're doing this alongside of somebody, you can't forget the balance ever. And yeah, the scales tip. Like, sometimes it's more work than it is fun, and sometimes it's more fun than it is work. But somewhere you have to find the balance so that you're seeing that you're off kilter. And that's really what 2023 has been for us, is learning to balance our fun, our relationship, our workloads, and check the system. If the system is failing, then you fix it. If the people are failing, and I'm talking about myself in particular, not that I think I was failing, but I obviously feel like I was somewhat lacking, whether it was knowledge or energy or a bad system I was trying to work. The definition of insanity, we all know that. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. At some point, you have to put the fire out. And maybe it means extinguishing the whole fire. No smoke, no nothing. Just to see what the source of the problem is. What started the fire. And that is my best advice for you. Start little. Put the fires out. Think big, but start small. Don't overinvest. I think everything is progress. I mean, when I started out as a mom, right? I didn't know anything about raising kids. I'm not sure I still do. But I didn't put out fires all the time. I managed the system, because you get overwhelmed if the system is managing you. And so that is what we have learned. And there's going to be those life changes, like me coming home, where now you have one person that's really focused on how jacked up the system is. And I consider myself the weaker link in our relationship, only in the fact that I don't have the sheer strength and muscle power that my husband does. I will never have that. And I'm okay with that. Like, and I think he's okay with it too. Like, can I do some really heavy lifting and brute strength things? Yes, I can. I have gained much muscle over the last 1.5 to 2 years. But my position is the manager and the doer, the worker, the encourager, and then the rest of my job is figuring out how to make this a little more profitable and a little less detrimental, right? And some of that starts with my energy level. So what's my energy level going to do if my systems are broken? I'm going to wear myself out running from pin to pin to pin to feed everybody. So immediately look at some self-watering, self-feeding systems. Look at where you're going to store your food and how you're going to prevent. Look, our first year, we had cows jumping fences, knocking over our trash cans that were filled with food. And you had bugs inside them because we had the wrong kind of containers. It's just, it's so simple when I look back, but you don't know what you don't know. My job is to try to help you get there. So start small. Over secure your animals. If you think you got it figured out, put an animal in that system and test it. They will let you know if you were on the right path. Sometimes it's a small adjustment that you need to make. Sometimes it's big. Watering systems are one of the hardest things I think that we face out here. Running a water line is not a cheap venture when you have your pastures and your animals away from your main water source, which is your house. That's your main lines. So these are just all the things that I want you to think about. What's your watering system going to look like? Ask me questions about watering systems. I'm happy to tell you what has failed and how to get to the next best place. Do you have an automatic, or do you have a float in your tanks? We don't right now because the floats kept failing. So we've now figured out that the floats aren't failing, the hoses are failing at the you know what I mean, at the float. The hoses are in a compromised position, and over time that pressure. So even though we are going to floats again, we can't leave the water on to those floats all the time. It's more of a prevention and allowing flow somewhere else, because a lot of our water source comes from the same spigot. So we may have a hose running to the turkeys that tees off of the one that goes into the cow water. So it takes longer to fill a 100-gallon tank, obviously, than it does to fill a 30-gallon tank. So the 30-gallon tank overflows while the big tank still fills. So just looking at those systems, like, I know it may be obvious to some of you out there. You may be like, well, that just seems like common knowledge. Well, it's not, because I'm in an uncommon environment for myself. I'm learning, and I know there are other people out there learning. And even if you think that you have it and you've not practiced it, you probably don't. There's practical application. That's what I mean about testing your system. Start little. Start with a few of what you think you want to do, and test that system on the small number, so it's easier to maintain and manage and fix. When you go big, whether it's intentional or not, and sometimes it's not intentional, like controlling a breeding program seems like it would be easier, but I really never thought about it. I don't think that we're out of control in our breeding. I just think we weren't prepared for the sheer number increase that comes from that. When you have 8 does, if each of them throw 2 kids that survive, your flock just increased, right? Your herd. And then you have to figure out how to manage that. What's it going to cost to feed them? Who are you getting rid of? Are you going to wether a goat? Are you going to castrate a bull? Are you going to have pigs? Are you going to keep a rooster? Are you going to incubate your eggs? And what does that look like? What are you going to do with your new babies? How are you going to protect them from the big flock? You're going to learn all that. And following and having a mentor has been huge for me, because people talk about their failures, not just their successes. We have a ton of successes that I don't even share. But every time a live baby is born on this pasture, I feel like we have done something wonderful. And we didn't have anything to do with it. But our management and good stewardship of the land is the sustainability part of this. We know this in our minds. Now you just have to develop the system to make it happen. So, in saying that, I'm going to sign off and go get my chores done, because it's already, I'm sure, like 90 degrees. I am sweating just sitting here on the porch in the shade. So, I appreciate you coming and watching the video. I hope that you learned something. Even if it doesn't apply to a farm life, how does it apply in the rest of your life? Because, nature is a very good example of how we should live our lives and what we should expect. It can be brutal, and it can be joyful, and life is the same way. So I thank you for joining me, and I bless you all, and I hope you come back. Please hit the like and share. Follow our videos. Subscribe if you have not, because this is good for us. Share with your friends, people that you know that are going through what we're going through or what we've been through, so that we can build a community of people that are learning together how to become more self-sufficient or grow your own food, if that's all that it is. Just a reliance on yourself and nature more than the system of the world, which is absolutely broken.